Welcome to NARAL's The Morning After. Each Thursday, our podcast brings you the latest on reproductive health care, progressive politics, and the fight to keep abortion safe and legal. NARAL's The Morning After is a production of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ProChoiceOH. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Ashley.
And we're here to talk about our favorite project, which is Patients to Advocates. It's a 9-month fellowship that is dedicated to leadership development for women who have had abortions to help change the state of affairs so that abortion access is easier and so that we can eliminate abortion access. So this is our second year, and Ashley is our project coordinator. And has done an incredible job. And as we're coming to the end of our second year, we're repeating this podcast. We did one a year ago with the first round of fellows as part of our Thanksgiving episode, because we're so thankful that when we put out the call asking for women to participate in this, that they answered and brought their authentic selves and really took a risk and let us be a part of their lives. So we want to first thank everyone who's been part of the project. And I think, Ashley, what I want to ask you is, now that we've gone through this second year and, we've had two groups to look back on, what do you think let's start with gratitude. What are you most thankful for?
I am most thankful that this year we are graduating 8 wonderful fellows. They have been a very cohesive group right from the beginning, and they have been just very enthusiastic for everything, like every single module. So I'm really grateful for that this year.
Yeah, I am too. I think the thing that's hard for me for this project is when we get to the end.
Yes.
We only have one more session this round, and I get a little emotional about it because I want to see them all the time. And so we're working on future alumni plans. So stay tuned for future episodes where we'll talk about that. One of the things I wanted to kind of talk about was, I think one of the biggest days for Patients and Advocates this year was meeting with the medical students for choice at Ohio State. Do you want to kind of tell our viewers a little bit about that? And we did that once last year, but then again this year.
Yes. So last year was obviously our first Patients to Advocates program, and that was our first time traveling to OSU for the panel discussion. And we received such great feedback from the OSU Med Students for Choice that they invited us back again this year. And we had an audience of about 44 healthcare students. And based on the feedback that they gave us on their surveys, it was just really it was a great opportunity for them as future medical providers to hear what they can do to make the abortion procedure better for patients, how they can be a bit more empathetic. And I think the main message that our fellows conveyed was, a smile goes so long, a smile goes such a long way. On that day when you are making a very important decision, kindness is just the best medical care that someone can provide.
Well, I think especially given the stigma that's around this particular mode of reproductive health care, to have that reassurance from your medical provider, I think is, it's always important. Anytime you're going through anything medical that it makes you nervous, that maybe it's the first time you've had a procedure or anesthesia or things like that. That kind of hand on the shoulder, that smile makes a big difference. Yeah. But I think it's such a unique opportunity for medical students, people who might even be thinking about whether or not to go into obstetrics and gynecology or be abortion providers, to hear from women who've experienced abortion and what they need from their healthcare providers.
Yes.
So what do you think was the other big day for the cohort this year?
Well, this year was a little bit different. They actually did 2 panels.
Right, that's true.
So the first panel was held here at preterm, and it was co-sponsored by Cuyahoga Democratic Women's Caucus and Cleveland National Organization of Women's Chapter. And that also had a really good turnout, and it was more so policy focused, and the fellows were able to talk about all of the barriers that they overcame to accessing their abortion. And that one went a bit longer than scheduled because the audience was just so engaged and asking so many questions. And again, abortion needs to be talked about out loud. And what the fellows are doing by starting these conversations within their modules and like in their daily interactions is like really why we are here.
Well, I thought what was really amazing about that panel in particular is for a lot of people, abortion or choice is a political issue. And even though, roughly a quarter of the women in this country will have an abortion at some point in their life, for a lot of women or men who consider themselves pro-choice, it's more of a political issue. And for people who are so active in politics to be able to, put multiple faces to what abortion really is, which is it's a private medical decision. It's a parenting decision. It's a economic decision. It's so many things. It's not just a political football. And I think that's why they had so many questions, because it was such a, unfortunately, rare opportunity.
Yes. Another rare opportunity that this year's fellows had was the chance to actually burn their stigma. So
That was a little
during one
scary.
of their modules, they wrote out all the stigma and all the negative things that they heard about their abortion experience or what women should do. And they went outside and they literally set flames to those things and, kind of released all of that negative energy. And that was done pretty early on in the program. And I think that kind of set the pace and the tone for this year's cohort.
Yeah. Anything else we want to share with our audience?
No.
I think I would just want to reiterate again how grateful we are to the funders of this project, to our partner organizations, Preterm, which is an independent abortion provider here in Cleveland, New Voices for Reproductive Justice, which is a women of color-led organization that was started in Pittsburgh and has expanded into Ohio, and also to the Ohio Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice and my group, NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio Foundation, and to Ashley, our intrepid project manager. We started this project really under we had been inspired by the Chicago Abortion Fund that has a fellowship program, but it's more of a full-time 1-year thing for 1 or 2 people. We really took inspiration from the work that they have pioneered and the work that we did, or that they did. So I wanted to acknowledge that and say, we've tried to adapt it for our use here, and we hope to keep this program going and really beef up the alumni activities, because we invest in making these women, giving them the tools to be leaders in the community, and now we really want to help them fly. And so please support our partner organizations. And
I just want to add, as you all listen to our amazing fellows and everything they have overcome, again, this is our Thanksgiving episode, so I hope that you are inspired by their bravery and their courage to talk about abortion at the Thanksgiving table this year. Thanks.
that's it, man. I can't think of anything else better to say. So thank you to our audience, and thank you to everyone that supports the program.
Thank you.
All right. I'm Greta, and part of Patients Advocates, obviously. I'm a mother of a crazy 2-year-old, and I consider my abortion my first parenting decision. So that's where I stand on this.
I'm Gigi. I am 27. I have a beautiful little 1-year-old who is turning 3 soon, and my Patients Advocate experience has definitely played a role on my choices in life.
How did you become a part of this program?
Funny story. So I used to Uber drive, well, I still do. And one day I picked Ashley up from the preterm clinic. And I was like, you work here? She was like, yeah. I was like, what do you do? And she explains everything about the Patient Advocate cohort. And I was like, oh, man, And that was like the first time ever in my whole entire life that I spoke about my abortion to someone else and didn't hide it from nobody. How did you get into the program?
Just generally being a bit of a bleeding heart liberal loudmouth is the way I sort of look at it, which is just, I filled out the form at the clinic about inquiring about the program after being up, I guess it's the third floor is where the actual clinic is, right? Or whichever floor. Anyway, and there was a woman there who was, we're getting ready to actually go in and have the procedure. It's the last day of the whole process. And she was just really upset and affected by the protesters that were outside. And so I spent a lot of time talking with her and trying to like tell her it was okay and that they were just jerks and like not to worry about it. And then I saw this little sheet of paper and was like, oh, whoa, I could actually like talk about this. You know, it's a very simple sheet of paper that says, are you interested in a program? But I filled it out and then didn't hear anything back for almost a year and just got curious one day and called the clinic and they sent me to Kelly's voicemail. I didn't hear anything else for a couple more months. And then magically I got this call and it has been like the best call I've gotten ever.
Awesome. What advice would you give those in the world, both pro-choice and pro-life?
I would give those who identify as pro-life the advice to change the name that they are using to identify because it is not an issue of life that having an abortion really is about. And so I would encourage them to accept the fact that it's actually a matter of anti-choice and to consider whether or not they feel that they are equipped and entitled to make that choice for someone else. Right. And to consider that people who identify as pro-choice often are not people with a lack of spirituality or morals, and that the experience of having an abortion can actually be something that is very touching and life-changing in a positive way.
Gotcha.
How about you?
Well, my advice to both those pro-choice and pro-life is that the abortion is just as simple as any other medical procedure, and that what I do with my body and what those do with everyone else that do with their body is their choice, and that you should be open-minded because you don't want no one to tell you what you can and can't do and what you can and can't eat and what you can and can't take.
And what achievements do you feel you've accomplished with this program?
I feel like I achieved mostly my voice because for the longest I never talked about the subject, and I also didn't talk about a lot of things, but this in particular program made me more vocal about the things I care about and care about the people around me. So what about you?
I totally agree with that sentiment because I think that this program, just in meeting other women who feel similarly, not always the exact same about these issues that we discuss in the modules with me, has made me really feel more confident in my own voice, which has lent me to sort of show a more dynamic side of my personality to my family, because that's not always something that I do. I come from a bit of a open-minded family, but also a sort of like quiet family. And so for me to be able to show this side of my personality as like passionate and like involved and like more dynamic has really been something that's made me feel awesome.
Good.
And it's helped me like have closer relationships with family and friends, especially like I've got other people in my family involved now. And it's really cool to see how other people can be advocates when they see someone else doing it that they, I guess, respect. I don't know if anyone respects me really that much, but I feel like they do at this point. I feel like my family, they do at this point, and that's a really awesome feeling. It feels like an achievement.
So what is your favorite part of the whole cohort?
Cohort? Yeah. Yes, you and everyone else. I think that this happened like just at the right time. Like I was still feeling like a new mom, and I think that being a mom, like like opened my eyes to how important like having a real community is, because you can't do that by yourself. I mean, I don't think it necessarily always takes being a mom, but I think that was one of the experiences that I gained from having a child, was that I needed my own thing and like something that I really believed in. And I definitely found it here with making these friendships.
My favorite part of the program is when we made our poems. I am a body that, and I really love that, especially when we took pieces from everyone's poems and put them together. I wish we could have did that for everyone.
Yeah. We can always write more poems.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds fun.
And then what do you feel is the purpose of the program, and do you feel like the program itself accomplished that?
I feel the purpose of the program is to bring people together, even though it might be a common purpose for some people, not necessarily all, but just bringing people together for a common understanding. And I feel like it's doing that, and I feel like we can accomplish much more once we reach out to more people.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you feel about it?
I agree. I think it's like the program is like really fostered our individuality while allowing us to like feel like we have this like strength behind us in each other. And I think it was really effective at that, which I don't know, that's sort of the impression from this program that I got, that an advocate is someone who is willing to be themselves in a public forum. And I think that they really helped us do that. So it's been awesome, don't you think?
And for those watching, Patients Advocate is more than just teaching us about an abortion and telling us what laws are against abortion. It's more so of creating a community within a community and showing everyone that you can have a voice no matter what it is and to stand for.
And it's awesome.
Hi, I'm Gabby,
Hi, I'm Christina.
and
We're in the Patients to Advocate program for 2017. How do you think the experience has changed your day-to-day views?
this experience has challenged the way that I carry my stigma. I believe that it has led me to be more open and the way that I carry my experience. I'm sorry, I worded that wrong. It has challenged the way that I carry my experience. So it has led me to be more open and more forefront versus my experience being something that I push into the back, and then I don't necessarily openly identify with. Now I feel very, very, it's not confidence, but something along those lines. I feel very, very confident about just being like, that's
speaking
me.
out. Right.
Yeah. And identifying with being pro-choice as well as being a person who has needed to use pro-choice, just different pro-choice things like birth control, abortion. I've needed to have access to pro-choice medical care. And so it's just helped me to identify I'm more than just I'm more than just your average woman. I'm a person who has experienced these different things. So,
Good answer. Have you had any interesting experience where you felt you had to defend your decision to have an abortion?
yeah, funny enough, one of the experiences that led me to say yes to this program, I had literally just left preterm, scheduling what would have been my second abortion procedure. And having it was a little bit more of an emotional experience being here at the clinic, because I wasn't so sure this time, which I didn't go forward with it. But anyways, the conversation that I had at the end of that, I was in the presence of three gentlemen who were really saying some very judgmental things about abortion and about pro-choice. The conversation came along because we were talking about Trump being in office. It was around this time last year, I believe, or January. It was around January last year, actually.
Okay.
And so Trump was coming into office, and we were talking about the changing healthcare. And what started out to be a very what started out to be a very friendly conversation ended up turning into a conversation that I felt like was against me.
Right.
Where I ended up being called a whore, and just very judgmental things being said about women who had had abortions. I hadn't even revealed that I had had one or that I had
Right.
just left the clinic. And so that was a really, really turbulent experience. It was an experience that ended up in me realizing that I had a lot of unresolved emotions, and that I needed to come to terms with different choices that I had made in a positive light, which I had thought I had previously did, but apparently not. And that this was something like I felt like it was a conversation that just really that really pointed to how deep this stigma is that we have about being pro-choice
Right.
and just supporting women's right to choose. So
Right. Okay. What led you to join the program?
that was one thing that led me to join the program. Also, I wanted to kind of I was moving back here to Cleveland. I wanted to get involved in some things that were a little bit more pro rights. And then I found this, and it turned out to be pro rights for women, specifically dealing with abortion, which are all things that I'm very familiar with and feel very passionately about. So that experience, along with a few other experiences that I've had since being a recipient of abortion care, led me to seek out this platform where I could openly talk about it amongst people who shared similar experiences.
That was one of the reasons for me as well. Okay. What's the biggest struggle you feel that you have faced during this abortion experience?
The biggest struggle I feel like I have faced during this abortion experience, or during my abortion experience, probably one of the reasons why I did not go forward with my second abortion, with my second abortion experience, why I didn't complete it, is because I had to wait that I had to, you have to have 2 appointments. As far as legally, you have to have 2 appointments, a 24-hour waiting period. And so by the time I was able to actually schedule my 24-hour follow-up appointment, the actual procedure appointment, I was further along than I could afford to pay for.
Right.
And I mean, I had made a different decision for other reasons as well, but
that was a barrier.
yeah, it was definitely a barrier. I mean, it was something that, like, even if I wanted to continue with the process now, where am I going to find this money,
Exactly. Yeah. So if you could do this program again, would you?
Yes,
I'm
I would
pretty
definitely
sure,
do this
right.
program. I would do this program over and over and over again. It's probably one of the best decisions that I have made since being back here in Cleveland. Seek out a patients to advocates program if you qualify. I mean, it's just like this experience has really been, I found like some really great women, some just really great people, period. Who I share a similar experience with. And I feel like we're going to make some change when it comes to pro-choice. And I'm really looking forward to, although our program, we have got one more session, which we're really sad about. But although our program is coming to an end, I really look forward to working with these women after this, and us organizing and pulling together efforts to start, being some of the faces of this movement, like Kelly, had said. So
Yeah, and being more proactive in the community. Okay. So I know you got
I
a
guess
couple of
it's
questions.
your turn now, Miss Christina. Okay. So I've got a great question for you. Why did you join Patients to Advocates?
Okay, well, when I joined Patients to Advocate, I was getting an abortion. Of course, it was like a little cue card, basically saying, do you feel comfortable sharing your experience or being around other people that was going through the same experience? So I didn't really think nothing of it, like not thinking they were going to call me back, but it was something that I felt like passionately about, due to I'm more so a proactive type of person and more upspoken or, outspoken or whatever like that. So that would have been a great fit for me. So basically, I filled out the form and they called me like a year later. Now, what I didn't know is that I'm usually a strong person. Like I do everything on my own, more so independent. So what I did gain from the program, which I didn't even think that I needed, but it was something that I needed. It's just crazy how the universe works out. But basically, I gained emotional support through this program. I'm usually doing everything by myself, independent, like no one, like it's just like sometimes you get tired of being your own everything. And with this program, it was almost something to like lean on and other women that was going through the same experiences as I was. So it was just fate, basically, because it wasn't really like I thought I was going to get picked. There's so many people that get, abortions or, this card came up. Yeah. And, of course, they called me like a year later, which I'm glad they did because my emotional was just off the chain. But when they called me, it was more so I was maturing and now I can talk about it and now I can, move forward. So,
yeah, I never thought I would get picked either.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, what are some stigmas that you have overcome since being in this program?
Okay, well, that was a big stigma, was me being a strong person that you don't need anyone. So that was a big one for me, even relying on you other ladies. You get what I'm saying? Even opening up to you guys, even sharing different things. But I feel comfortable in this situation with us being brought together. That's one of the stigmas. Another stigma is that people think you're selfish or only thinking about self when you're seeking abortion care. Me, I have 2 children already, so I was looking at the betterment of their life as well as mine. So it was something that I just couldn't do at that time, and I knew that this was what I needed to do. And I felt relief from that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was 2 stigmas that I overcame.
Very valid stigmas. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're almost done here. I promise I'm almost done asking you questions. Last one. So are you happy with the decision you have made to get abortion care services here preterm?
Yes, I am. I'm very happy. I actually feel a sense of relief that I was able to make that decision, and I'm able to sit here and speak out for those that's not able to speak out, or for those that's wanting to speak out but needed someone else that they can see, that they can maybe, relate to, and maybe that'll be more comfortable for them to step forward. So, yes, I'm happy.
Hi, my name's Addison Bloom. I'm an advocate in Toledo, Ohio. I'm a part of the Patients to Advocates Fellowship through NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio.
Hi, my name's Alyssa. I am a University Heights resident. I'm a patient to advocate, a jazz singer, and a vocal coach. So Addison, I wanted to ask you some questions. Can you tell me what was your abortion experience like?
Yeah, so I had an abortion when I was 15 years old. This experience was really hard for me, but was a part of like my formative years. And it really inspired me to take action and work in reproductive justice and join this program as well. I had to face a lot of barriers as being a minor and also not having the money to afford an abortion. And I recognize that these barriers affect all women that have had abortions and are detrimental to abortion access.
Thank you. I also wanted to ask you kind of just more about the barriers that you faced individually when you went to go get your procedure.
So as a minor, I had to obtain permission from my parents. That was really hard to be able to have to sit in front of my mom and explain to her the circumstances that left me to have an abortion. I was sexually assaulted and I had to sit there and explain this to my mom and ask her to pay for this abortion and have her sign these papers. That was really difficult for me. The nearest clinic was far. I had to be taken out of school, and I was currently, and I know a lot of women can't have insurance to pay for it, Medicaid if you're low income, and yeah.
No, thank you for sharing. I also wanted to ask if you could tell me a little bit about the Hyde Amendment.
Yeah, so the Hyde Amendment prevents federal funds from being used for abortions. So this includes Medicaid, and if you have a government job, as like you're in the Army. So it prevents that money from being used for an abortion. And it really targets low-income women. And in its creation, Henry Hyde quoted, said, "I would certainly like to prevent, if I could legally, anybody from having an abortion, a rich woman, a middle-class woman, or a poor woman. Unfortunately, the only vehicle available is the Medicaid bill." So this was a targeted attack against low-income women.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate and sad, but thank you for sharing that with me and with everybody else.
So I have some questions for you.
Shoot.
So I'm going to ask you the same question that you asked me initially.
Okay.
What was your abortion experience like?
Such a weighted question. It's such a stigmatized and really difficult topic to bring up, and then to just talk about it publicly. My abortion experience was and shouldn't have been as traumatic as it was, but because of the barriers that were in place, it prevented me from really like healing from the experience afterwards. I was 17 at the time, so just like you as a minor, I had to acquire, I had to get permission from my parents in order for them to allow me to have the procedure done. I grew up in a religious home, so that was really, really difficult to explain to my family. During the procedure, my mom went with me, but it wasn't just a one and done situation. It's the 24-hour waiting period, and then they sit you down. You have to talk to a counselor. So just kind of dehumanizing. It felt like I couldn't be in control of my own body the whole time. And that's not a good feeling, You want to be able to trust your medical providers. You want to be able to, share things with your parents that they're proud of. And this was something that I could have done on my own. But because of these laws in place, they have made it really difficult for women to use, I guess they made it really difficult for women to take ownership of their bodies and to exercise their rights to that ownership. So my abortion story, it's like many others, and you'll find these stories happening all the time, every day. But, it wasn't great. I found out that I couldn't receive the medication abortion, which sucked because I wanted to be in the comfort of my own home. But because of the ban, I was over the time frame, and I had gone with the vacuum aspiration, and it was not my first choice. If you have the ability to make a decision, I want to have sex with this person, you should be able to make the decision that I want to birth this child, or this is like a huge weighted thing. I'm talking a lot, but yes, it was hard. It was very difficult, and I'm here today hoping that we can kind of look for a better generation, better future for women.
Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
So my second question for you is, what would you have liked to known prior to having your abortion?
Well, that there was a ban on medication abortion, because, that was not very fun. What else would I have liked to known prior? I guess, I don't know. I guess that's pretty much it.
Alrighty. What would you like people to know about those who have had abortions?
That we're good women. Such a stigmatized. It's such a highly stigmatized word, abortion. Just being able to vocalize that. We are in charge of our bodies, and we get to dictate our future. And you know, those people who have had abortions, they're 1 in 3. You know, happens more frequently than you think. So I guess that's what I'd like to share. So thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jennifer. I am a Patients to Advocates Fellow. I have been commuting from Kent, Ohio, and I am also a writer and a mother.
My name is Marcy. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm right here in the local area. I'm a mother of 3 daughters, a 3-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 19-year-old. I am a part of the Patients to Advocates program as well. We're a part of the second year group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very rewarding.
So speaking of rewarding, how would you say that this program has affected your personal life?
For me personally, I think when the program first started, I had hopes for what I thought it would be. But, you know, as time went on, of course, you know, well, I won't say I had hopes, but I'm sorry. Right, I did. I had expectations of, I guess, kind of what I thought it would be. And by it being new, I think, like in my personal life, I wasn't as open to talking about it with family and friends at first. I just didn't know how they would, I guess, take me being a part of the program. Just because of, you know, the stigma surrounding abortion. But as the program went on, I definitely became more and more comfortable.
Yeah.
Just talking about it with everyone around me. And it's interesting because as I became more open, you know, some of my girlfriends and, you know, other women that I know, they in turn became more open with me.
Yeah.
And I also, even, you know, some of my girlfriends expressed their interest in, you know, being a part of the program, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Sounds like it's deepened the quality of some of your relationships.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I would have to agree that I've experienced similar things. Even just within my home. I have 3 kids too, but my oldest is 15. And coming here and having these conversations has definitely carried over into the household in a way that I've been able to create, or we have created more space to have conversations that might otherwise feel kind of tough, but I guess learning the things that we have, or learning how to articulate our stories has helped me to realize how important it is to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny because years ago, you know, with my daughters, I could never have imagined me like having like abortion magnets on my, like pro-choice magnets on my refrigerator.
Yep.
You know, just I think growing up, me and my mother had a great relationship, but I just wasn't able to talk to her as openly as as I would like to think that my, children can talk to me, about
Yeah.
issues like abortion. So, I
Yeah.
think it's awesome that, like I said, this program has encouraged me to be more open, and I hope in turn have made even, like I said, my daughters more comfortable with the subject,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I hear you on that.
What about like your overall experience being a part of the program? Is there like anything that stands out, or just, I guess, like I said, you're just overall?
Well, I think that my favorite part actually sort of happened by accident, because I missed a module, or there was a week that everyone went down to Columbus, lobby day. I missed lobby day, and it was pretty important. And so I felt this pressure to figure out like what sort of makeup work I was going to do. Like I wanted it to be meaningful. So it wasn't like, oh, I didn't, deal with our legislators. I'm just going to, write on a piece of paper. So I put together a workshop about herbs that have been traditionally used to help maintain the female reproductive system. And I submitted a proposal to a reproductive justice conference and was accepted. And I traveled to Philly, which I had been wanting to go to for a long time. And I taught a workshop. And so like, it was the first time that I ever did anything like that. It was well attended, like how it was long. It was like an hour and a half, 2 hour long workshop. It was amazing. Yeah. That's like, yeah, it was very empowering. It made me feel like
I bet
I can do this. It was a lot of work, but it was like super rewarding and made me feel confident in my ability to collect information and present it in a way that can be useful for people and accessible. Yeah.
I don't know. I think as far as like my overall experience and like some of the things that stand out for me, I know I actually missed lobby day as well.
Okay.
But yeah, my daughter had a dentist appointment that day, so I was pretty upset about that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, like what stands out the most, I really enjoyed the panel at OSU, and I think something that kind of enlightened me about the experience was that a lot of times we don't realize how important and like how I guess how powerful like our stories are.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're sitting in front of this room full of medical students who can get all of the, education in the world, surrounding their female reproductive system, or, whatever it is that they're studying. Yeah. But, there's nothing that compares to actually being able to, I think, talk to patients, who have been through, who have had abortions, and, hearing their stories and just being able to understand, like, why safe abortion care is, like, so important. I know. So, like I said, for me, that was, I really enjoyed that experience, having, being able to talk to them.
I enjoyed that too. Yeah, I remember as I was coming in, or actually the interview, one of the questions was like, why am I interested in this program? And I said that I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to figure out how to make use of my story. And that panel, especially, like that one in particular, made me feel like my experience is being valued in a way that can really impact the way that things move forward in terms of abortion access and the way that people frame it, especially like, people in the medical field. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to ask you if there is anything in particular that you were surprised to learn during the program.
Some things that I was surprised to learn. I was very surprised to learn more about the crisis pregnancy centers. I was familiar with the crisis pregnancy centers, but I just wasn't, I guess, informed about, all of the just deception, and just some of the practices that they use to pretty much lure women, unsuspecting women who are, at probably the most vulnerable time of their lives, into some of these clinics. I was just really, I was really surprised to learn about those, and I think that was probably the most shocking thing to me.
Yeah, I was shocked too. Like, I mean, I had actually visited a crisis pregnancy center, not on purpose, but personally, I was actually referred to one by the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. So that's the thing that shocked me, is that there are federal dollars going into promoting misinformation. I thought that was pretty sick, especially considering learning about the Hyde Amendment and how dollars are restricted from helping low-income women who have Medicaid coverage. They cannot have their abortion care covered, and so there's this huge barrier for folks. And so you're going to create these barriers, and yet at the same time allocate monies to misinform people. It just seems so wasteful and frustrating. But then, like, the other thing that I think really surprised me is that number, that 1 in 3 number. Like, 1 in 3 women will have or have already had an abortion in their lifetime. And I'm like, well, what? How are we not talking about this? How are we not talking about this? Why is this such a secret? It really, for me, opened my eyes to how much power stigma has, that we can be so stifled and held back from supporting each other and offering each other understanding and that one was, it's still big to me. I feel like I say it once a day. Once a day, I'm like 1 in 3. 1 in 3, like, abortions exist regardless of whether or not they're legal, and so it's like we either can make sure that we dedicate our selves to making it accessible to people, or we deal with the fact that, like, dangerous things can happen, because it's a thing. Like, if women cannot access safe legal abortions, then they might have to go another route, and that's something that we want to prevent.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of touched on what I was getting ready to ask you, but I just wanted to, for you to give your opinion on, like, why you feel like the program is important. And like I said, I know you just kind of touched on that a little bit just now.
Why I think patients to advocates is important. I think the ripple effect is, like, what the key is, like hearing about how the quality of your friendships has deepened in having these conversations. I think that the thing is just, like, normalizing abortion, because it's already normal, like, as like 1 in 3. So, like, but normalizing these conversations so that, it's accessible and women are safe. I think that is, like, the most important part of this program, is, like, the conversations that happen afterwards, and also, like, the action that comes therein. People are activated, like all these women in this room developing this understanding about how our stories are connected, and getting some context about like where we stand in this bigger system, and trying to figure out like, well, how can we, what are our next steps forward? So I think that that's those are the most valuable parts of this program. But what about you? What do you think?
It's definitely encouraged me to want to continue to just be more knowledgeable and like you said, just open a discussion. And I think, it definitely changes, like as generations go on. Like I said, I wasn't able to have these conversations with my mother. It really makes me feel good knowing that I feel like almost like I've broken the cycle.
Yes, I have definitely had that thought and that feeling like we have broken a cycle here. Definitely.
Absolutely. And that's important, because I would, like I said, I have teenage daughters, and I would it would break my heart to think that they couldn't, come talk to me, or, even if they couldn't come talk to me, places that I just feel like young women should be able to, go and have discussions like this, like you said, without just the stigma attached. And unfortunately, there's so much stigma surrounding it, but hopefully, like you say, we're breaking down those barriers.
We're breaking down those barriers like every day with these conversations, with your abortion magnet on the fridge, like all of that, all of it.
Absolutely. As far as legislation, I know we were talking about like some of the things that we would like to see changed, because we face so many barriers. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you would like to see changed?
Well, my mind goes straight to the Hyde Amendment. I think that it's really cruel to block low-income women from accessing the abortion care that they need, to cause one more hurdle on top of everything else. The cost of this procedure could mean a woman's rent, especially like a low-income woman, a woman with children, like trying to maintain her family. Like, I feel like these are the stories that we really have to talk about. And I think that that is the thing that I would like to see changed first and foremost, like immediately, like as soon as possible. And I want to know how I can help, is like, because it gets passed again every year. Like so I don't know. I mean, I guess people have been trying, but I want to figure out what I can do. Is there something that we can do differently to stop this madness?
Right.
What about you?
For me, I think the Hyde Amendment, of course, is one that stands out the most, especially being prior military and being stationed overseas before. You're not able to have an abortion like on an American military base, so you're kind of forced to venture out and into the unknown if you happen to be stationed overseas. For me, the Hyde Amendment, I think that's something that stands out for me, and of course, also the way it blocks low income women from being able to afford the procedures, and also the 24-hour waiting period. Once again, I feel like this is one of the most vulnerable time in a woman's life, and you're kind of being forced to, drag out a decision that you've already made and, you're comfortable with, and being forced to have the ultrasounds and just So I would definitely like to see some of the legislature change to, make abortion care more accessible.
Yeah.
For women, definitely those two things stand out the most: the 24-hour waiting period and the Hyde Amendment.
Yeah, you're right. Like, I wish that we could get rid of all the medically unnecessary stuff, because at the end of the day, it's a medical procedure. It's a simple procedure, right? So why are we adding all of these things? Well, we know why. It's just like it's anti-woman nonsense. But this 24-hour waiting period, like, some women are driving an hour. I mean, I had to drive an hour to the clinic and back, and there's so much coordinating that has to go into, like, dealing with childcare and dealing with XYZ. So then to have to do that multiple times, it's like it's just one more barrier. You're right, and it's not necessary.
Right.
So yeah, I hear you.
This is Patients to Advocates 2017, presenting a group poem, I Am From a Body.
I am from a body born with Medusa curls. Snakes weaving to receive pearls guide my reach.
I am from a body that is covered in deep chocolate satin with rips, tears, and patches. A body that is never the shape I want it to be.
I am from a body whose boundaries were broken before I knew how to build them.
I am from a body that is resilient.
Because this unique design is my fortress. It is my home, and I'll do anything to nurture its spiritual, mental, physical growth.
I am from a body that no longer hides her from her past and made peace with her abortion. I am from a body that loves who she is and not just a portion.
I am a body that deserves a choice, a body that walks with my head held high.